right, everybody, it's now 1 o'clock and time to start our finance facility meeting. Ms. Shirley, would you start us with the invocation, please?
Yes. Our thought for today is from 1 Corinthians 13:13. So now faith, hope, and love abide, these three, but the greatest of these is love. Let us pray. We give you our thanks and praise for what you have bestowed upon us. Grant us wisdom that we might join you, O Lord, in finding the things that are important for us to work on during this time together today. Grant your blessings on our defenders of freedom and first responders. Keep them safe. We pray for our world, our nation, our government. We lift prayers to keep safe our men and women who serve and sacrifice for our freedom. Heal the wounds of those seen and those hidden, Lord. In your mercy, hear our prayers. Amen.
Amen. We now call to order the August 25th, 2026 finance facility meeting. I want to welcome everybody here today. And we always, as always, we'll look forward to your ideas, suggestions, and questions you may have. Glad to see Dr. Goodwin here. And hope he's doing very well. Looks like he's doing pretty good. So that's a plus. And today's agenda, we will start off with finance facility. Mr. Brad Whittle, please.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Goodwin. It's good to see everybody this afternoon. Today we will go over the July finance information as we start the year. And just a quick reminder that July is typically a pretty limited month when it comes to financial information and what actually is on the ledger, because a lot of the things we're doing in July, especially the payroll and fringe, gets accrued back to the month of June for the previous year closeout. It's important to also understand that we are operating in the month of June. We're actually still operating to this day under a state continuing resolution. So any revenues that have been gathered from the state level are under that continuing resolution, meaning that they are equated to last year's revenue information or revenue amounts, and they're just things that are unknown at this time. So we'll jump right in on the first page, the dashboard. Just a couple of things to highlight. The top right for the average daily membership, loosely describing our enrollment, is posted for what would be the 10-day count of school. And we have seen a slight reduction above and beyond what we had last year. So that number represents a ADM or an enrollment that is slightly less than 10,000 students. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go towards the 45th day in the middle of October and see if we should be preparing for any impacts regarding that enrollment. The bottom left, we have updated the cash balances as far as the ledger as of June 30th, and we've put that in a line for 25-26 year end, and you'll notice the note there that that is not final. That represents unaudited information, so we'll continue to update that as needed. But we have presented you those balances also for July of 26-27. Sales taxes as expected related to the debt program, so nothing to really mention there. So if we go into the general fund summary for July, just a few overall comments. Local revenue is off to a start that is expected for us. And we'll keep an eye on that as we get into the year. Right now we're not receiving the bulk of our tax revenue. That'll happen in November, December, January, and a little bit in February. So we'll keep an eye on that local tax revenue as it relates to reassessment that is occurring this year as well. All of the state revenue in the bottom section, again, that is coming in under the continuing resolution. So we need to understand that when we look at things for the current month actuals, for instance, the general fund, new education funding, 4.4 million. We would have expected a little higher than that, still 4.4 million. But we're going to have to make sure that that comes in line with where we had budgeted once we get the new appropriations bill in place. So with that, comparing the revenues that we have received to date and the expenditures, which are very low for the month of July, you'll see the month of July is only $3.5 million. That is sharply lower than normal, but that's because most of the expenses in July are accrued to June. So we ended the month to the positive $3.4 million. And if you compare that to last year, it was 4.6. Again, last year we were receiving new updated revenue from an approved budget at that time. This year we are not. So that is part of the difference. Okay. General fund expenditure summary. You'll notice very little in the way of expenditures to date again, but you will notice the miscellaneous line, which is for services, as well as other. You can see some high usage of expenditures. Simple explanation for that: the miscellaneous services includes our technology side, which is getting our licenses in place and subscriptions for the year for instructional especially. And then the other includes insurance. So when we get to the back 2 pages, you'll see that in the detail. We have to go ahead and pay either our first quarter or the first half a year worth of insurances to have us covered. Special fund summary, really nothing to report. Overall, everything is in line as we would expect to start the year for all 3 of those categories. For the month of July, we present to you, as always, the student activity funds, giving you any activity during those months, as well as the ending balances. And it, just like our general fund, you're seeing basic activity as we begin the year in those areas. Rental account or facility usage, again, very little activity. Maybe have been a couple of things going on, but really nothing to speak of in the month of July, but that will ramp up. So food services, community eligibility report, there is nothing for the month of July. There was only 1-2 days, I think, in there. So really no participation to report. That'll kind of roll up in the overall numbers. But I did want to show you the 25-26 averages for both lunch and breakfast, so you can see the participation as it compares to the 2 prior years under the program. Holding fairly steady on breakfast, room for improvement. We've talked about that, but we did have a decent increase on lunch participation on average for the full year compared to the prior 2, and that's very encouraging. And then the detail of the expenditures, again, we'll let you look at those as you would like. Again, those 2 percentages of hired use for just 1 month are on page 2 of that. And you can see where those fall in the technology purchase service line below miscellaneous services, as well as the insurance at the bottom under the other. With that, that concludes the July report. I'm happy to take any questions if you have them.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. Mr. Willard, I know I asked this question in the past, but I just want to make sure, excuse me, student activity funds, there seems to be a large carryover from year to year. The last 2 years I've noticed they've managed to hold on to quite a bit. And I do understand that money's fundraising money and such. In our audit, is there anything to raise a flag that we're holding on to that money? I say that these clubs and these schools are holding on to those activity fees for a prolonged period of time. I know some of them are waiting to do things with the money, but it just seems that there's quite a bit of money that's carried over. I appreciate the fact they're saving it. I have no problem with that. But I know that with a 501c3, that there are rules with that, even though this may not apply here. I just want to make sure that I have a firm understanding that it's okay to carry that over, and that when we get audited, it's not a problem with the auditors.
Right. So a few things within that. Auditors are actually happy to see balances do as our balances have. They look at that. While pupil activity is considered a special revenue fund, not general fund, the idea would be that we treat that just like we do a general fund. And our goal is to keep the same balance. Maybe we add a little bit into fund balance from year to year. Maybe we use a little bit out of fund balance from year to year. But we actually have looked back at the 25-26 year, and the beginning balance in July of last year and the ending June balance this year, obviously unaudited at this point, is virtually unchanged. So even though there were ups and downs and fluctuations, it's virtually unchanged. So if you look at that from a balance sheet standpoint, that tells us there was really no change throughout the whole year. You remain balanced. So it wasn't adding to. With regard to, and you'll see when they present the audit, there's one thing that they will have on every district's audit that they perform, and that is risks that are involved with pupil activities. And that's just because it's a smaller fund level, harder to manage, and you're dealing with a lot of cash, coin in and out. But that is not anything based on what we've done or what we're doing. That's a general overall comment. You mentioned 501c3s. We're going to talk about something in just a minute where that would be applicable, but for the purposes of school district, generic fundraising within the schools, that does not apply because we are not a 501c3.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One question, do we have any impact from the hot summer on our energy bills per se? I was trying to look across to see was there any major impact because it was so hot this summer as far as keeping our buildings and things cool. I know they don't just turn them all the way off during the summer, the air conditioning, whatever. Any big impact on our energy bill? That's
So far, we haven't recognized any, but believe it or not, there are a few bills that have recently been paid that go back to June. So some of that has just hit the ledger. So we're going to go back and take a look at that once we get into real year-end closeout, and we'll make sure we do that comparison to see how we did on our budgets.
Thank you.
I just want to ask one question, please. I don't want to, I'm going to piggyback on you a little bit, but I want to clear my head a little bit because I've been on board for a while, and I've always understood that student activity funds were funds that have been in place for maybe quite some time, and that money has been there for these activities such as club activities and so forth. But I'm wondering just, and I should probably know the answer, but I'm going to ask it to you because you have an expertise on this better than maybe what I've had in the past. I don't know. But anyway, receipts, money taken in, that's correct, and then the disbursements of money going out.
Yes.
Am I right? So what is being done to receive the receipts? What are the receipts coming from? And what are we spending from the disbursements? Do you have any idea of how that works? And it comes up to a balance. We start out with a balance, and then, of course, it's good that we've ended up with a bigger balance, I guess, than what we began with. Can you kind of explain a little bit of that, go into depth of that a little bit?
Okay, so receipts and disbursements is a huge, broad range on either side. So receipts can be anything from fundraisers, gates or admissions, donations, fees that are collected. It can be all of those things. So it's any kind of revenue that comes in that is coded into those funds.
Okay, and the disbursements would be?
Those are going to be expenses that are
Right.
charged to the pupil activity funds that the principal at their discretion is using those funds for, that they have authorized. So they're buying certain materials. They're doing things that are not budgeted into general fund to do. They're paying for field trip deposits. They're paying for concert deposits. They're paying for a myriad of things out of that under that disbursement column.
So it is money collected from different activities or different, and
Yes.
then dispersed because of activities that they want to compete in or participate in.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That it? No more questions? All right, thank you very much. I believe, are you presenting the fundraising, crowdfunding, and SSO
Yes, sir.
compliance?
Yes, sir. We wanted to go over this with you. The timing of this is very good because of the presentation at the last board meeting regarding the registration of our, what we would consider student support organizations, boosters, PTAs, PTOs, et cetera, which is required by law to be given to the board each year as we begin the year. So, provided for you just a summary as we walk through this. Wanted to make you aware that we are engaging with a service called Givebacks to do a couple of different things. So the first part of this relationship is going to be addressing fundraising and what's called crowdfunding. So this is more of a district level relationship with the agency. And what this is going to do, we already have this in place, and we already have this in policy and in our guidelines, that fundraisers must be approved. The fundraisers take on two different faces. So you have your traditional school level fundraising that is done in-house. This is the sale of candy bars. This is the sale of discount cards or car wash tickets, that kind of thing. Those only require principal approval. And we have a form for that within the schools. They do that. They do a very good job with it. What this is going to do is it's going to automate and streamline that forms processing. But the other one, when we talk about crowdfunding, what that describes is any fundraising activity that is done online. You engage with another entity, but it is online. You actually have what is called a campaign that is up there for a period of time. And some of you have probably gotten some things from a crowdfunding entity, whether it be by email soliciting for a donation, or whether it be a sales email where a school may be engaged with them to sell certain items, whether it be popcorn or that kind of thing. It's just not done in-house. So online campaigns of any time require the approval of the principal and the CFO. And the reason we do this, while there are not any laws, it is highly encouraged that we track these with a little bit more of a fine-tooth comb because of financial compliance, equity, as well as property tracking. Because anytime those things come in, we have to know that they're there. Which means you have platforms out there where, I'm trying to think of one. You look at Amazon wish list. It's an easy one to do. The question then becomes, where does that property get shipped once it is purchased for and on behalf and then sent? So those types of things we have to take a little bit more care to track. This system will help us do that. We will automate the forms, automate the processing, and for that particular section of this, we have a training schedule on September 1st for all of our school level approvers, bookkeepers, etc. The next thing that this relationship does is it helps us work with our student support organizations for compliance. And while we do the spreadsheet and we give you that information, there's a lot more to it that is critical. So this would create a platform that ensures compliance, and it offers some helpful tools to those SSOs. So we talk about the August annual registration that has to be done each year. This will help with that, so that we don't have any of these holes or missing pieces, so that we can collect this better. We will be able to have a view of their annual registration. What that's going to produce is a good standing report or not good standing report that will eventually become the report that we gave you at the last board meeting. It'll be much more, not necessarily in detail, but it'll be cleaner. And Mr. Cameron, you mentioned 501c3s. When I talk about view of registration and looking at these things, we have to be very, very careful about working with these SSOs when donations come in or they're doing things on behalf of or in the name of. Because if they are a true 501c3, and they should be at the very least a separate entity, it's their choice whether they're a 501c3. What we need to see and make sure that is in good standing is that they have an annual registration with the Secretary of State that qualifies them as a fundraising agency, an IRS 990 return that must be filed to sustain their preferred tax treatment each year. We want to see the bylaws, and we want to make sure that that background check is done at a minimum for the financial representative of that organization. And that is another piece that is required by law, in addition to the August report. Some go as far as making sure that they have proof of insurance. We have not talked about that as of yet, but it is a possibility. So with this platform, we will be able to see if each one is in good standing. We will be able to utilize the resources of this agency if there is an organization out there that is saying they're a booster or a PTA or a PTO, but they might not be, because they don't know that they're supposed to do the annual registration with the Secretary of State. They don't know about File 990s. They haven't set up a proper entity. Who knows if they have a bank account, whose tax ID number that's under. This agency will help us get those things in order for them, and we'll be able to provide a unique site for each one where they'll be able to have their officer access. They'll be able to put those bylaws on there. They'll be able to put the 990 on there and the annual registration, so that we know everything is in good standing. So, going back to the last board meeting, we talked a little bit about that as we presented that spreadsheet to you about, what if we have a parent group who just wants to do something for a specific team? Well, if they're not set up as a separate entity and they have not taken the proper steps, what that ends up being is just simply nothing more than another component of pupil activity, because they're not a separate entity. So we need to make sure that we are taking a little bit better care in identifying and making sure that we separate those that are true student support organizations, boosters, PTAs, PTOs, and those that are just simply groups that may be doing something for the benefit of a team or a club. Does that make sense? Okay.
Mostly.
Okay. And we will be having a training. We'll be planning to bring all of our student support orgs in later September, along with school level folks too, to go through a training session with them and get all that information out to them.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, do you have something?
Go ahead, I'll go.
What was you gave a name for this program, or?
Give backs.
Give backs.
Yes.
And this is, as you mentioned, we've got policy. I remember when policy was put in place by the board, it's been 6, 7, 8 years ago. especially the crowdfunding portion of this. But this is more a procedural thing than it is, policy is not going to be affected by this at all.
It should not.
Okay.
We're not aware of that right now.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair. Just a quick reiteration or just to make me have some comfort. Kind of layering back a layer or two before this, like with the Amazon wish list kind of thing. Is it pretty, I remember when I was still principaling, the bookkeeper or a designee would go over that with teachers every year, is what was apropos and how it should be conducted. Am I safe to assume we're still doing that? And the reason I ask is, I'm definitely not opposed to it. It always makes me a little nervous, that the teacher or whoever is doing the wish list knows that, whatever's being ordered needs to be delivered to the school, and if it's not consumables, it becomes property of the school, that kind of stuff. We still maintaining some controls over that.
That's what this is going to help with more so. We have fair confidence that that's being taken care of at the school level. However, it is advised that we also have district level communication and notification of that so that we can add that extra layer of tracking and quite honestly support, not just oversight or tracking, but support so that we try to make sure that we keep everybody in good standing.
Right. Thank you.
I was the one that kind of brought up some of this stuff, I believe, in the last meeting with some of the, I call them individual accounts or whatever. So what we're saying here is that there is a policy in place to where we can have oversight of these things if we know it's happening. They can't just go off and just raise money or whatever without it being placed in the school district accounts somewhere. Am I correct? Or they can have their own accounts, or it would have to be in a district account or school account brought in. In other words, let me simplify it a little bit. Many years ago, there were activity that was like a concession stand, and that money was maybe collected by a particular sport or activity or whatever, I just use that. But that money was brought in to be placed in a certain account because it was done, that's what it was for. It can't just be renegade type thing. Maybe that's not a good word, but that's what I'm gonna use anyway. So, but we've got this covered through these policies, is that right?
We do, but it comes down now to education and guidance to folks in general. I'll give you a quick example of what we need to know, and that is, let's say you have, 2 or 3 folks who have great hearts and they want to raise money in the name of this sport or this club, and they go out and do that, and they take donations and they bring those in. They may get permission to, and I don't think this would ever happen, Billy, but I'm just saying they may decide to set up a little stand at an event and sell something. So the money is collected, whether it be by donors or those who are buying at the time. That's the question, is where does that money go now? So if that money's turned directly over to the school because they're aware of this, then that is just like a pupil activity account. It's just like taking a gate. However, if that money then were to be deposited, instead of going directly to the school, it were to be deposited into an individual's account, then they're not registered, they didn't have the authority to fundraise, those who donated then do not have any tax benefit, or they're not donating to a 501c3 who is registered to do so, and then we accept that money, then we ourselves potentially have a problem because we have to then, we don't know whose bank account that went in, whose tax ID it was set up under, or anything. So we need to make sure that we're identifying those as much as we can, but make sure that our relationships with our true SSOs, our student support org, the boosters, PTAs, PTOs is very solid, so that we're not putting us or them at risk.
One more thing, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That, now that I'm kind of encompassing what you're saying, it makes me feel more comfortable that you have another layer of accountability or oversight, however you want to put it. You may have seen just on the news, I'm not saying this would ever happen here. I know I dealt with it in my first principalship. Hopefully it hadn't happened since then, but a PTO president got charged over in a neighboring district just today for misappropriation of funds, and she's facing some serious charges. So anything we can do to kind of have checks and balances, I think that's for the good.
Right. And I want this, when we do this training and we bring those SSOs in, I want it to be very clear to them that this is not meant to be punitive upon their efforts to associate with our schools. As I mentioned, there's going to be some helpful tools on this site that they will have that will allow their officer members to have access, keep up with their information. They can even, if they want to on their own, they can even engage with this platform to have their financials there and have a little tool for them to do what they need to do as an organization.
I'm going to mention one last thing. I think for gathering your information and providing this information, and for anyone that might be listening or knowing after this meeting, they need to go through the proper procedures to have these little individual accounts or whatever, and be responsible for where that money is placed and who has access and how. And I think thank you for bringing it up and sharing it with us today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, we're now ready for operation facilities and waivers. Mr. Billy Smith, you got a box full of stuff today.
That's good.
Come loaded for bear. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, board members. We'll start with the request from the Delta Sigma Theta Camden chapter that this is an annual request for long-term use of the boardroom on Saturdays, on a certain Saturday of each month. This is through Ms. Halley's group. They're retired educators. They are wonderful partners to the district and do some wonderful things for our students and faculties. They have requested a full waiver of the rental fees and the custodial fees. And this is one of the few groups that we do that with because of Ms. Halley's involvement. We have never had a problem. It is always, when you come in on Mondays, you can't even tell they were here. They always try to leave it better than they found it. So our recommendation is to approve this again for this coming year. Be glad to answer any questions or anything for y'all for this one. If not, I will move on to the next one. The next one is an update on the First Baptist Church of Camden did the COLA Wars. There was some confusion about what they were actually wanting to use. And at the first submission, there was checked that the stadium would be used. That was found to not be the case. And y'all had approved half the rental fee on the original and full custodial. Come to find out, they only needed to use the gym. The hours were correct, but anyway, we went from charging them, we were gonna charge them with the stadium in it over $2,000. But after we redid it with just the gym, and went half as you had approved, their total charge was $1,251, and they did not use Zim Stadium. But just wanted to clarify that with y'all, make sure that we didn't have anybody out there saying that these people letting folks use Zim, and they had not. Any questions about that one? The next thing that we have is we have a natural gas company that is bringing a pipeline across from Richland County over into Kershaw County, and they have asked for an easement. It's not a very large easement. It's on our property that's located on Highway Church Road for a future Elgin Elementary School. And we have had our attorneys look at this agreement. They offered to pay us, it's only about 20 foot. And the only reason they're having to do that is because the way SCDOT is making them come around. There's a corner there on the road, Highway Church Road, and it actually, the way they're having to run it, it puts it into our property line. They're just on the edge. One of the things we originally had a concern about was that if we ever build a school here, we didn't want somebody telling us we couldn't, if the SCDOT or OSF said that's where we needed to put our driveway, our entrance or exit to that new school, that we couldn't do it. And so we made sure, and our attorneys made sure that that is not the case. Now we're not going to build we're not going to build a building out there by the road at that point anyway. And it being so close to the curb, I do not see those two entities having us put an exit or entrance there. But if they did, we are now safe to put a road over top of it. We just have to let them know about it and work with them on that. So what we are wanting to do, we also, they offered us $2,000, but we also had our attorney put in there to put in any attorney costs that we have to get this looked at. So they're going to give us $4,000 for that easement. So we are looking to move forward with that and give that to them. I think we're the last ones kind of holding them up so they can go ahead and start getting all their permitting and everything that they need to do. So if that's okay with y'all, we would like to recommend we move forward with that. Next, I think I skipped over the facility. Oh, yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Do you need, I was wondering if you need an approval from us for that separate in the facility?
I think when we do the approval like we do for the waivers, when you do the, yeah, I think.
Is dealing with property about tracing question.
Yes, sir. Boss, I don't think so, but.
It might be best to put that as a separate line item, just so that we delineate that we are accepting money for that easement.
And that we're, yeah.
We'll, if it's all right with y'all, we'll list that as a separate item.
Okay, yes.
Instead of just under the consent agenda.
Right.
Right, that's what I couldn't get out of the consent agenda. I think, yes, I think that's good, because we have done that with others, which one I'm gonna talk about in just a little bit. We, back in 2005, I think Charles will remember this.
Let's go ahead and knock out the driveway license.
Okay. Yes, sir. As you know, we've been working most of you know, we have been working with the city of Camden for about almost 4, maybe 5 years now, where they wanted to, we granted them an easement, and we have an agreement with them for us to give them about 2 acres back here. They've already started putting the base of a water tower on, and then right beside it is another piece of parcel that's also an acre, about an acre each, back here in the back against the back of our property in the back corner, which will be an electric substation. And one thing that we asked them to do was work with us to try to get a driveway from our back of our parking lot over here over to Battleship Road. So our folks in the evening could have the option to get to 2 lights out here and turn left safely. Because out here in the afternoons after 4 o'clock to about 5:30, it's hard to get out. You have to really take a chance on maybe getting walked, trying to get across there. We are finally to the point. We've been working with the city and also our neighbors, the South Carolina Voc Rehab folks, and they are giving us a license for 50 foot behind their property over here, which connects into the full plant's property, and we finally worked it out. We had to pay $2,200 for an appraisal report for when it was cleared out and trees were taken, and then the appraisal finding came back that said that they appraised that we of the lumber that was taken back there. It was $22,600 for a total of $24,800. We will submit that because part of our agreement, the city gave us $60,000 to go toward the creation of the driveway connecting us over. They also gave us another $25,000. All we had to do was turn in the receipts that we could apply for them to pay for any paperwork or red tape that we had to go through, which this falls under. So we will take the $24,800 that we have paid, or will pay and have paid, and send that to the city, and they will reimburse us for that. But wanted to let you know we were getting close. We have the agreement. Our attorneys have looked at it. We've gone back and forth. We think it's a good thing, certainly for now and for the future, for the safety of our people, not only the people who work here, but also the public that comes in and out here and visits our district office here. But wanted to let you know that we were going to be moving forward with that. Y'all had already approved all of this, but it's been a long time since we've talked about it. And I'll be glad to answer any questions. Or yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. You're referencing, I don't see a document in anything that we've received. Have you shared a document with us, or was there supposed to be a document shared with us today?
There were documents shared a while back, but we can reshare those if you'd like us to. Yes, sir.
I do recall this a while back, but I didn't know if there was, since you've got updated information, the 2 documents that were on today's agenda were all related to the pipeline stuff,
yes.
Not for, okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss something. Thank you.
And I can get that to Wendy, and if that's all right with the boss, and get that to you. Yes, the
Thank
document that we're looking to sign with them.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. The agreement that we had with the city, y'all should already have, but I will also include that.
And I don't necessarily have to have it. I'm just making sure that there wasn't something included in today's packet, because there were 2 links,
I
but it's
noticed
for the
that
same
wasn't
project.
there, and I that's my fault. I didn't get it to Wendy.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anything else on that? All right. Back in 2005, we went through a process, and we came up. I know Coach will remember this, and I know that Charles will remember this, where we hired. We had 25 applicants to do this study for us, and we put together a very large committee to go over and go through the process, an RFP process to select what is and still is the Heary International Company out of Atlanta to come and do a facility equalization and needs assessment for us. It was a very in-depth endeavor. I think one whole summer, we brought lots and lots of stakeholders in for lots and lots of meetings and gathered lots and lots of information. We hired, part of that was a demography company to come in and look at future growth and tell us what they thought was going to happen in the future with our numbers and that kind of thing. And then we went on and did phase 1 and phase 2 of that. And the first one, we were able to do kind of timed out right at the same time that we were having reassessment in the county. I think it was 103 million, the first one, Charles, and before that, Kershaw County never passed a referendum for more than 40 million, excuse me. That was Dr. Berg. And then the second one, I think we were around over 130 million. And we were able to touch every one of our schools, either by building new schools or refurbishing schools or additions. We did some really good things. We went from having almost over 100 mobiles in this district to we're down to 2, other than the bus mobiles that we actually use at the school. North Central Middle has 2 mobiles that are still in good shape that they still use, that we were going to take out of there, and the principal there asked, he said, I can still use them, can we still use them? So we left them there. So it was first of all, it was a blessing. God blessed us to get through it. We did it all without raising taxes. And we even had enough money to build Jackson Elementary at the end. We saved enough money to build Jackson Elementary at no extra cost to the taxpayers. We also did additions of wellness centers at North Central Middle School and Stover Middle School to make them equal with the athletic and activities things that the new Camden Middle and lugoff-elgin Middle had. And then at the end of phase 2, we were able to save enough money to build North Central Elementary School. Well, 21 years later, it's time to start over and do it all again. So all that being said is we wanted to let you know we're getting ready to go back out for another RFP, for another study and another firm like Heary. We'll find another one like them to go out and go back through this process again, and let's try to get ready for the next 20 years in the future, and try to do as good or better than the Lord bless us with the first one. Be glad to answer any questions, or we get ready to put that RFP out probably tomorrow or the next day, but we wanted to talk to y'all about it and let you know about it first.
Mr. Chair. Ma'am. Just out of curiosity, is Heary still around?
Yeah, they are. They're big in Charleston.
Yeah, they did a great job, and I know with the RFP, I bet we'll have a bunch more. But are we also going to solicit the? I'm a little bit reserved to even ask a demographer like Jerry McKibben did for us back then to look at geocoding and see how we stand.
That is a part of this. Yes. Also look at our technology, our activity bus fleet. It's a very comprehensive study that we're asking for.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, this brings us to the conclusion of the Finance Facility Committee meeting. I will ask Sharon if you will close us out in prayer. Yes.
As we leave you today, but never for your divine presence, we ask that you guide us safely back home and find all us when we get there. And we give you all the honor and glory that is due you. And it's in your name we count it done. Amen.
We'll now stand adjourned.